Hey vlog! Today we are at the Vatican. Before diving into the history and the holy beauty of the Vatican, we had one mission: find some pizza. And we found the perfect little spot, the Bodega Vittoria. Pizza in Italy just hits different. The crust is paper thin, the ingredients are just simple. Flour, water, olive oil, and a lot of love and passion. And somehow you can eat half a pie and still feel light. It's the kind of pizza that makes you wonder what we're doing wrong back at home.
After filling our bellies with some seriously good food, it was time to make our way to the Vatican for our tour. Next up, the official starting point for our guided tour. Located just north of the Vatican, right in front of the museum. This is where pretty much every tour gathers, and yup, right on the stairs. And a pro tip, book a guided tour. The line to get in without one is so brutal. We went with City Wonders through TripAdvisor, and it was worth every minute. Way faster, way smoother, and we got one of the coolest, most authentic tour guides. A fun fact is when you walk into the Vatican, you're actually stepping into a whole new country. Yup, Vatican City is its own independent state. You even go through a little custom-style checkpoint, just like crossing a border. And our guided tour was for the Vatican Museums, the Sistine Chapel, and St. Peter's Basilica. As we stepped into the Pinecone Courtyard, everything suddenly got quiet. It's this peaceful pause before the real journey begins. That giant bronze pine cone here is over 1,800 years old. It once decorated in an ancient Roman fountain.
No shame, Napoleon. He invaded all Europe, and when he got here, the Pope said,
The giant bronze ball isn't just a cool sculpture. It actually has a meaning. It's called sphere within a sphere. There's a broken outer shell and a smoother inner world inside. The artists wanted it to represent how modern society is kind of fragile, and how everything is constantly moving and changing underneath the surface. From here, our guide took us to these visual boards to prep us for the Sistine Chapel. Since you can't take photos, videos, or even talk once you're inside, this is where they show you everything beforehand. So just be ready. It's all about being respectful and soaking in the moment.
with some problems. Let there be light, and there was light. So the first one, God is creating the light out of the darkness. Second one, he created the sun, the moon, and...
Stepping into the Chiaramonti Museum is like walking through this marble timeline. Rows of sculptures, portraits of emperors, philosophers, and people we'll never know. One cool thing to look out for is many of these heads were found separately from the bodies, so historians had to piece them back together, sometimes from different eras.
What?
We climbed this beautiful staircase and entered Raphael's Rooms. It's a series of chambers he decorated after the Pope Julius II brought him in to elevate the Vatican's artistic style. These rooms were once his living and working quarters, and now they are one of the highlights of the museum. And here is a fun detail, that Raphael and Michelangelo were painting in the Vatican at the same time and were known to clash. The rivalry shaped some of the most iconic art in history. This is the Octagonal Courtyard, surrounded by towering sculptures that have survived centuries. One of the most famous pieces here is Apollo, the god of the sun, music, and art, standing in perfect marble form. Even though this is the Vatican, you'll still see a ton of Greek mythological statues because Rome inherited and loved Greek art. Many of these pieces were found in Roman villas and ruins, and the church preserved them as cultural treasures. Entering the Sala Rotonda starts with a charming surprise, a room filled with statues of animals and pets. It's a quirky little glimpse into what Romans valued and the creatures that filled their world. See that ceiling? It's covered with beautiful frescoes inspired by ancient Roman motifs, gods, heroes, and geometric patterns all blended together. And then you enter the Sala Rotonda. Right in the center of this room sits this massive basin. It's carved from one solid piece of stone, and it was originally part of Nero's palace's baths. This thing is so rare and heavy that it's worth more than most of these sculptures in this room. And then you can't help but look up at the ceiling, and it feels very familiar. That's because it is. The whole room was designed to echo the Pantheon, Rome's iconic dome temple. One thing you'll notice in a lot of these statues is this little fig leaf covering. Well, back in the 1500s and 1600s, the church added those leaves to make the art more modest for the public. But if you walk behind this giant statue, yup, the leaf only works from one angle. The rest is still very much there. And speaking of modesty, they didn't just add fig leaves, they actually went around snipping off certain, parts of statues and storing them in what became known as the box. Yup, a real box of marble man parts sitting somewhere in the Vatican archives. Then we walked over to the giant coffin. This was a big highlight for Megan. For years, people thought this was Constantine's own coffin, but historians now know it actually belonged to his daughter Constantina. And right across from it is another matching coffin belonging to his mother, Saint Helena, the woman credited with finding the true cross. So you're literally standing between the mother and the daughter of one of the most important emperors in Christian history. As we headed up the stairs, we started seeing Egyptian elements, like these Sphinx statues. Rome was heavily influenced by Egypt, especially after Cleopatra's era. We step into the Galleria dei Candelabri, named after the massive marble candle stands that decorate the entire space. It's a mix of statues, mosaics, and some of the fanciest candle holders you'll ever see. This statue covered in what looks like 100 eggs, that's Artemis of Ephesus, the fertility goddess. Those aren't decorations, they're symbols of life and abundance. And don't forget to look down. Even the floor in this room is a piece of art. The mosaics here are just as detailed as the walls and statues. Okay, eyeballs in a statue, creepy or kinda awesome. Back in ancient Rome, This was their way of making statues look a little bit more realistic. They carved out the pupils and irises, and sometimes even added color to the stones. Basically, ancient realism before CGI. As soon as you walk into the Gallery of Tapestries, you feel the scale. These aren't paintings. Every detail you see was stitched. It's like walking through a hallway of living history. And the Gallery of Tapestries is like walking through scripture. Each piece tells a moment from the life of Christ, from Bethlehem to the empty tomb. If you look closely, you'll notice something incredible. The shading in the clothing and faces is created by using different colored threads, not paint. The craftsmanship is so unreal. If you really pay attention, and you'll notice that the ceiling looks like it has raised carvings and layers, but it's actually flat. The artists use a technique that creates fake shadows and highlights, making your brain think the artwork pops out. And we've reached the final gallery of the museum, the legendary Gallery of Maps. This hallway is huge. Every map you see was hand-painted, showing what Italy looked like over 400 years ago. It's like an ancient Google Maps street view. And here's the crazy part. These maps from the 1500s, they're almost spot on with modern maps. When you compare them to what we have today, the shapes, the coastlines, the regions, they're shockingly accurate. And the ceiling here is breathtaking as well. It's a mix of sculpted figures, gold leaf, and painted scenes that celebrate different moments in Italian history. And I had to grab a quick selfie with my wife. Moments like this just make you want to stop and say, wow, we are really here. Okay, Sistine Chapel time. And yes, cameras off, phones away. So just imagine us standing there with our jaws on the floor, because that's exactly what happened. Then we entered the main courtyard leading to St. Peter's Basilica. And it's jaw-dropping. You can almost feel the history in the air. Decisions, ceremonies, meetings, prayers, all taking place right here on this ground. Entering St. Peter's Basilica, oh my, as a devoted Christian, I can't even explain the feeling. You can truly feel the spirit here. It was more powerful, more peaceful, more overwhelming than I ever imagined. Welcome to St. Peter's Basilica, the largest church in the world.
Oh my goodness.
St. Peter's is the definition of monumental. The basilica covers 5 acres. The dome rises 448 feet, and the interior is so vast you could fit 2 football fields inside it. The statues are enormous, some over 20 feet tall, and those inscriptions around the ceiling, each letter is the height of a grown man. 7 foot tall, text wrapping the dome, proclaiming scripture in gold. Everything here was designed for awe. This dome is a masterpiece. Michelangelo took inspiration from the Pantheon, the world's oldest dome, and reimagined it on a scale the world had never seen. Look closely. The geometric patterns, the mosaics, the massive ribs holding the dome together. The figures painted around the base are enormous, though they look modest from down below. And running around the inner ring are 7 foot tall gold letters quoting Jesus. You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. So stand here, take your time. Every inch of this dome is intentional. See those black columns? They were taken from the Pantheon itself. The 4 Pantheon pillars mark important relic spaces near the main altar. Why take them from the Pantheon? Well, to turn Rome's ancient temple stone into Christian history. See this chapel right here? Our guide told us this is believed to be where St. Peter was crucified.
This is the place where St. Peter would have been crucified.
And as a believer, it's overwhelming to think the man who walked with Jesus, who denied him and was restored by him, who preached the gospel boldly, finished his journey right here. It's holy ground. And being here, guys, it's emotional in a way you just don't expect. Now look at these tile paintings, and here's something most people don't realize. These aren't mosaics, they're actually paintings on ceramic tiles. Why? Because inside St. Peter's, real frescoes wouldn't survive the humidity, the candle smoke, and the centuries of visitors. Painted tiles last longer, don't fade, and it can be cleaned or replaced without losing the original design. Seeing the bodies of the popes still preserved, still here, brings heaviness to your heart. These were men who carried the weight of the gospel across generations. Standing before them reminds you of the faith they fought for. And we got to sit down in one of the quiet chapels, and me and my wife got to take a moment to pray. I prayed over my family, over our future, and just thanked the Lord for bringing me here to be in His house. Moments like this, they stay with you forever.
So a couple awesome things. The fact that we're here timing-wise, it's the Jubilee. So behind me is the setup for tomorrow. The Pope is in that building right now. We saw the armed guards surrounding his little room, and it's pretty cool.
And with that in mind, we got to experience something that only happens every 25 years. The opening of the Holy Door. As we approached it, the feeling was unreal. It was hard to describe, but emotional, humbling, and just powerful. And to get to share it with the love of my life just made it that much more monumental.
Such a good moment, such a great, peaceful, spiritual day, and just honored and blessed to be here.
I don't even know how to put it into words, but I was emotional walking out. You could probably hear it. I just felt so grateful to have been here. If you can even make this trip, I highly, truly recommend it. This has become one of my absolute favorite places in the world.
Awesome. Highly recommend it.